Yes, we got it. We got a new Illuvium Arena PvP patch. It's gonna mix up the meta a lot. I'm really excited for this one, so let's check it out real quick. We're gonna speed run through it, and we're gonna mention the big winners and losers of this patch. So starting off, the reason for this patch is mostly to add more damage to the game, because the battles were mostly going into overtime, and with these changes, it should be easier to deal with tanky compositions. First up, we got the Pterodactyl line, a little bit of the damage buff. We got the Sea Scorpion line, also a bit of a damage buff. We got the Umber line, and it also received a little bit of a damage buff, which is going to be nice to see. Maybe Umber is coming back. We have seen it a little bit in the last week, paired with Gyro. Then we got the Beetle line, a little bit of nerf of the damage reduction. Won't be too big of a deal. We got the Shoebill line, huge buff to the damage. Blaze Knight now does 25% more damage on his Omega cast. We got the Star-Nosed Mole line, a little bit of a damage nerf. Didn't know this was a problem, but it's really small nerf, from 500 down to 475. This Taipan line, Snake line, is getting buffed, which is nice to see. Hopefully we're gonna have some more range damage deal carries in the game, and not only those melee units like Jotun, for example. Jotun gets a little nerf on its duration of the stats steal of his Omega. Monkey Fighter gets buffed quite a lot, so maybe Berserkers are gonna be pretty strong right now, as Monkey is the main carry in the Berserker teams, and he gets a significant buff from 130 to 150% attack damage. Then we got the Monkey Empath line. It's getting overall nerfed on stage 1 and stage 2, and stage 3 just gets a little nerf to its radius. The overall nerf is about the damage amplification for the allied units that it hits. This one is an interesting one. The Tenrek line with Rotor Revo Gyro is getting a nice buff. Not too much, from 200 to 210, from 400 to 410 on stage 3. But it was already really strong, so I think Gyro is going to be dominating this patch. We got the Komodo Dragon line, a little bit of a nerf on the duration of its Omega. Then we got the Sloth line, nerfing the damage of its Omega a little bit. That's nice to see, as Null sometimes was the top performer in damage if your Berserkers died, for example. We got the Terrorbird line. Phosphorus might be back, and he gets a little bit of a buff, actually a huge buff. Energy cost goes from 80 down to 70, so we're gonna cast more often, and the cast is gonna do more damage. Significantly more damage, from 180 to 210. I don't know if that's gonna be enough, because really the carrying factor of Phosphorus was the Bloom affinity, with Bloom providing health regeneration, but also Bloom has been buffed, so we're gonna come to this a little bit later on. The Bulwark Lynxes, little nerf to their buff they give themselves when they cast. Then we got the Flishes, overall damage nerfed from 55 to 50. Good to see. Flish was a little bit overpowered. Now we're gonna jump into the synergy. Overall, if you go full on in a synergy, that part has been buffed. So the 4 stacks of composite affinities, or the 7 stacks of basic affinities and synergies. So here we can see 7 water gets a little bit buffed to the energy regeneration. Then we got Earth, gets a little nerf actually to all the grid and resolve on 5 stacks. 7 fire, more damage, 5% more from 30 to 35, and from 70 to 75. Nature, little bit of a nerf, actually quite a big one, from 1.5% max health regen down to 1.2. We got Air. 7 Air is getting a buff. If you're going all in into Air, you're gonna get rewarded. Then we have Tsunami. On 4 Tsunami, we're getting more energy cost back. Nice to see, because you're not gonna reach 4 Tsunami oftentimes. So this incentivizes going for that legendary augment, for that Tsunami augment, to actually get 4 Tsunami. Steam buff activation time goes down to 8 seconds. Good to see. Steam wasn't very dominant in the current meta. For Toxic, you get a little bit more heal. Doesn't really matter. Toxic still is gonna suck. Then we have Granite. 4 Granite is now 7 seconds invulnerable and gets more grit and resolve. This is huge if you get the Granite augment, and people are gonna go for more Granite augments now for the legendary augments. Then we have the Magma, and it has been modified. It doesn't give grit and resolve to allied units everywhere, just only while they are inside the molten ground. And because this is a little nerf, we are upping the grit and resolve stats that it provides, and also the energy damage per second on 4 magma stacks. Here we come to the bloom changes, and I don't think it's gonna be enough, but bloom activation time goes from 8 seconds to 7 seconds. This is huge. And also we're gonna get more health and more Omega power per stack, quite a bit. So we'll see. We'll definitely gonna try out bloom later in the stream. Join the stream if you wanna see me try out the new meta, try to find the new meta deck. Dust gets a little buff. I don't think it needed it because Gyro is already so good. Gyro got a buff as well, so now Dust also gets a buff. Could be a dangerous position that we're putting Gyro in. But we will see. Wildfire gets a buff on the damage and also on the Vamp. Then we got the Verdant. Also gets a little buff, which is surprising because Verdant has been dominating the leaderboards. So far the OP traits that I've been seeing is Gyro, Dust and Verdant all getting a buff. Spore also getting kind of a reworked. Now if you dodge an attack, you don't reduce the energy efficiency of the attacker anymore. But now when you cast an Omega, you take energy from the enemy team. So basically a Techno Leecher built into the Spore's kit, which will buff Spore quite a lot. And also the Vermilia and all that Spore units have been quite dominant the last days. So interesting to see if that's gonna push them over the edge. Inferno has been reworked and actually received a little bit of a buff. It doesn't it has been redesigned a little bit, because so far it used to be energy damage per second and now it's max health percentage as pure damage. So now this is Inferno is gonna be better versus tank, but worse versus small little squishy units. Then we got 7 Fighter receives a little bit of a buff. 6 Rogues also receives quite a big of a buff. Then 7 Empaths also a buff. Arcanite buff duration goes from 4 seconds up to 5 seconds. So overall, all the traits and all the synergies and everything around Arcanite Bloom has been buffed, but we're not getting back the health regeneration. So it might not be enough, but I hope so. I really want to play the Terror Bird. We're gonna see. This really surprised me. Invoker damage going down on 2 and 3 Invokers. We haven't seen any Invokers lately, so I was hoping they get an overall buff, but only the 4 Invoker stack with the Legendary Augment gets a tiny bit of buff. But the nerf is really small, from 13 down to 12, so it's not really that big. What's big though is the Mystic changes, because Mystic has been so dominant in all the teams, and also they are a problem why we always go into overtime. They're getting nerfs overall on all 2, 3 and 4 Mystic stacks. Then we're coming to the augments. Now we're actually gonna have a better percentage bonus on stage 1 than on stage 2 with a lot of those augments. So you get more bang for your buck if you bring the stage 1 augments for the charge capacitator, for the Razor assimilator, which could be really nice in, for example, Umbra Gyro decks. Also for the Quantum Nullifier getting buffed overall. Also for the Synaptic Booster getting an overall buff. We haven't seen this augment at all. Same with the Quantum Reservoir and the Graviton Piercer, providing more energy piercing, 30% already on stage 1, which is huge. Also, the Hyper Endurance Matrix gets a little buff. It was nerfed quite severely in the last patch, so that's nice to see. But we're only going for 48 to 50, so it's not that big of a deal. Photon Ripper on stage 3 gets a little bit of reduction in the crit chance from 32 to 30. And also the Redemption Core, you're gonna get more bang for your buck on the stage 1, giving 500. And then stage 2, 650 and 800. Because, you know what I mean with more bang for your buck. Stage 1 is half the price of stage 3. But when you play stage 3, you don't get double the stats. You don't get 1000, you only get 800. So the higher the stage, usually the effectiveness of the augment goes down a little bit. This one is interesting. Stage 1 gets buffed on the Epic's Empowerment. Now you're getting 5 energy damage per stack. And then if you upgrade to double the cost, you only get 7. So you only go from 5 to 7 if you invest double the mastery points. So it seems like stage 1 will be the one you should be bringing, not the stage 3. Same with Synergetic Field. Well, Synergetic Field just has the shield amount going up. We have a buff in the Omnivamp for a single target on the user that you equip this augment to is now gonna get on stage 3 40% lifesteal, which could also play very well into Phosphorus, into Umber, into Gyro, which all really profit from the lifesteal. Also maybe into Monkir. Then we have more healing reduction on the maladaptive resonator, which is nice to see to counter those healing clumps in a corner. We got biogenic suppressor being buffed a little bit, reducing more healing. So nice line that we see here, reducing the overall healing, trying to not let people go into the overtime so much anymore. And we're also going to reduce more the energy of the opponent, which is really good to see. Also, you're going to get more bang for your buck for stage 1. Then we got the fortification catalyst. Stage 1, stage 2 have been buffed. Stage 3 has been nerfed just a little bit. Overall buff to the omnigenic modulator, giving you more attack damage, more omega power on cast. Quite a lot more, from 16 to 20, from 12 to 20, damn. Alright, this again, a good augment for Phosphorus, a good augment for Gyro Umber, so I think those are gonna be the big winners. Then we have a buff to Surge module, giving more omega power, giving more energy on crit. This augment was already quite viable before, so this will put it in a really good position. And now the trigger of cleanse and immune of this augment is gonna be on 1 omega cast again, not every 2 omegas, and this is gonna be huge. And this really makes temporal safeguard playable again, and this is gonna change the meta a lot. And then fusion igniter, again, big buffs, so overall damage increase, making all the augments kind of stronger, all the damage augments getting a huge buff in here. We got the nano sequencer getting a little buff on stage 1 and 2 with the max health heal. And then last but not least, we got the Vestation Surge, also giving more crit amp, more crit chance, overall buff to almost all the damage giving augments. And that's really nice to see, because that also enables a lot more carries. We got a little nerf to Proton Koras in the stage 3. That's it, that's all. And then we have a lot of bug fixes. You can look over those yourself. By the way, if you like the content, if you appreciate it, please show it and click the link in the description down below. It's my Illuvium content creator link. Click it once a week, engage with the homepage a little bit to show you're not a robot and to help the channel. Thank you very much. And yeah, that's it. We're gonna jump in the stream right away, so join me on stream. I'm streaming every day. We're gonna find the best decks and see what the meta is all about now. I'm really excited for this. I see you in a bit. Have a good one. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you liked it. Peace out. See you tomorrow. Adios. Goodbye.